Hello and welcome to FPL Battles, the only show on the internet where FPL players go head to head in a bracket to determine which are the best players that you should be buying for your fantasy team. In today's video, we're going to be looking at the best strike partners to go with Erling Haaland because absolutely everybody is going to have him, but we're going to use a head to head bracket to determine which one you should be selecting for your Game Week 1 draft. If you do enjoy the content that you see on the channel, please be sure to like, comment and subscribe as I do answer every single question down in the comment section below, and we're trying to hit 1,500 subs by the end of the month. Big goal, but I do believe we can do it. But yeah, that's enough waffle from me, ladies and gentlemen. Let's get into our first ever FPL battles. So here is our bracket. We have 16 forwards all going head to head against each other, and we're going to determine which player is the one who should be partnering Erling Haaland. And I don't see any reason why we just, shouldn't dive straight into today's video. So let's go with this first matchup here. We do have Callum Wilson versus Harry Kane. Now, Callum Wilson obviously finished the season on fire, ended up finishing above Marcus Rashford in terms of goals. I think he got 18 in the end. Newcastle's fixtures aren't the best. He's a little bit more expensive this year as well, so I'm not leaning towards him. Kane, on the other hand, obviously quite expensive at 12.5 million. He's going to eat into a lot of budget. Spurs don't have the best opening two fixtures, but the man is an absolute machine. So I think for this first one, we're going to have to select Harry Kane over Callum Wilson. Let's move on to our next bracket, which is Dominic Solanke versus Nketiah. Now, Nketiah just moved to the Premier League from Chelsea. Really good season in the Bundesliga with RB Leipzig. Solanke got 10 plus goals for Bournemouth. Lots of assists as well for him last season. Bournemouth do have West Ham at home in the opening fixture. Not a bad one. Nketiah, on the other hand, does have Liverpool, so I've seen him in a lot of people's drafts as well, and I don't really like going for players who, are just like recently moved to the Premier League, because you don't know what role they're going to be playing, you don't know the minutes, you don't know kind of how they're going to fit into certain systems, and Nketiah kind of fits in that bracket. They've also got a new manager as well in Pochettino, but I think we're going to go for him just for the fact I do think in the long term he's potentially going to score more goals than Dominic Solanke, especially with Bournemouth's fixtures kind of tailing off after game week 1, whereas Chelsea's do pick up after the Liverpool game. So we're going to go for Nketiah in this one. Moving on to our next one, Awoniyi versus Watkins. Now, Awoniyi was a really popular pick at the end of last season. I think it was 5 games in a row he managed to score, something like that. He was absolutely on fire. Before the fixtures were announced as well, a lot of people were potentially looking at targeting this man in their Game Week 1 drafts, but obviously Forest's fixtures have come out now and they are pretty poor. I definitely think he's going to be an option at some point during the year, but definitely not the start. So I think we're going to go Ollie Watkins. Their first 3 fixtures are a lot nicer. Newcastle at home in Game Week 1 isn't the easiest, but this new Emery side, Ollie Watkins is the main player, going to be on penalties as well. So I think this is a really easy pick. We're going to go for Ollie Watkins in this one. Next one, I don't think there's going to be much debate about this one. Martial's made it in because he's the only forward Manchester United have. If they do sign another forward, I think it's Haaland they're being linked with. So maybe if they get him, things might change. But at the moment, I don't think we really need to say too much on this one. We're going to go Jesus. Moving over to the semi-final, is this? Might be the semi-final? No, it's the quarter-final. Ignore me. Absolutely chatting wham there. Kane versus Nketiah. Ooh, this is going to be difficult, this one. Obviously, with Kane, it's that price point, isn't it? That 12.5 million. How are you going to get other players into your team with him? Whereas Nketiah is really good value, but I don't know whether or not he's going to potentially play every single week. Absolutely killed it in the Bundesliga last season, but is he going to start straight away for Chelsea? Is he going to be in that first lineup? Probably, because they're pretty dreadful in terms of forward players, but it's a tough one, just mainly down to Kane's price. But I think we're going to have to go Kane. Absolutely killed it last year in FPL, 30 plus goals in the Premier League. If Erling Haaland wasn't here, we'd be talking about this man a lot more. He would be absolutely nailed, but it is that price point that is kind of going to be sticky, but we're going to go with Kane. So moving on to our next bracket, it is Ollie Watkins versus Gabby Jesus. Now this one's actually kind of difficult because if you go Jesus, you can't have players like Martinelli, Odegaard, because I'm guessing you're going to go Saka and maybe Gabriel or Ramsdale. So it's whether or not you think Watkins and Martinelli's going to do better or Jesus and another midfielder. That is tough. That is a difficult decision. Newcastle in the first fixture, though, is not going to be easy for Ollie Watkins. I saw as well, Gabriel Jesus has been absolutely killing it in his like per 90 stats as well. 8 million for Jesus as well, in one of the best attacking lineups as well. I think we're just going to have to go Jesus on this one, guys. I think Watkins is a good pick, but at 8 million, I'd rather have Jesus in one of the best attacking lineups, and we can go for a different midfielder as well. I don't think Watkins and like a Martinelli is the better pick. I think Jesus makes more sense for me, and this kind of head-to-head combat. Now, this is the big one. Kane versus Jesus. Wow, okay. Yeah, which one do we go for here? Oh my days. Kane, obviously absolutely fantastic. Spurs don't have the best two fixtures, Brentford and then Manchester United. That's not an easy pairing. As well, if we go for Kane, we're not going to be able to get other high kind of premium midfield assets within our side. So like Bruno, might have to take a hit on maybe like a Saka and go for a downgrade. Might have to go for like a 4.5 midfielder as well. So I think just for that reasoning alone, and the fact that Arsenal have amazing fixtures to start the season, we're going to go with Jesus. I'd really like Kane as a pick, but that price point limits the potential that you do have with other midfielders. So we're going to go Jesus. Right, moving on to the next side of the bracket. Wow, what a stink fest this is. Jackson versus Darwin. I absolutely know nothing about Jackson apart from the fact that he's on an 8-year deal, which is like ludicrous. And then Darwin Núñez. Oh my. We're going to go with Darwin for this one. I think if he does play, you know, obviously had the highest XG, like not converted opportunities in the Premier League last season, was super wasteful. If he can convert his chances, I definitely think he'll be an amazing asset at 7.5. Don't really know too much about Jackson, so we're going to go Darwin for this one. Moving on to our next matchup, Vissa versus Alvarez. Now this is actually quite an interesting one. Julian Alvarez, I've seen a few people talk about this. If he plays kind of in that number 10 role, just kind of sat behind Erling Haaland, because obviously Gundogan's left. He did that at times last season, especially I think it was Everton away he did it towards the end of the season. I was quite frustrated because I bought him in, saw that he was playing in this 10 role, didn't actually do anything in the end. But if he's playing in the 10, City have really good fixtures as well. He'll want to see his minutes increased as well because, you know, he's a young player, could easily go and get game time anywhere else, wants to improve his game. But then Vissa is probably going to be the main forward for Brentford this season. I know a lot of people are getting confused about what role he's going to be playing, what Mbeumo is going to be doing as well. So this is actually quite a difficult one. Ooh, City's fixture, both fixtures are really good. Obviously, he's got Spurs away in game week 1, so they're probably not going to be too attacking. But then Julian Alvarez, is he going to start? Is he going to get the minutes to be worth it in a draft? I really don't know. We're going to go with Vissa, just down to the fact I feel he's potentially going to play more games than Julian Alvarez. Right, next bracket is Gapo versus Isak. Wow, okay. Liverpool fixtures are actually kind of good after game week 1 where they take on Chelsea. But then there's so much competition in the front line for Liverpool. You got Diaz, you got Núñez, Salah. So there's a lot of competition in those mitts. Gakpo's probably going to be playing a little bit further back as well, you imagine. Oh, but then Isak, Newcastle's fixtures are really stinky. Yeah, we're gonna. Do I go Gapo? Do I go Isak? We're gonna go with Gapo. We're gonna go Gapo with that one. Mitrovic versus Ferguson. Oh wow, okay. This is tough as well. Obviously Everton, and who else have they got in this second game for them? I know they got Everton in the first game, which is a really nice fixture. Obviously a lot of us didn't own Mitrovic second half of the season because he spent most of it banned after just absolutely throwing his toys out the pram. So a lot of us haven't had a Mitrovic in our side, and I think have forgotten what he's about. Obviously missed a lot of penalties as well last season, so there's question marks about whether or not he's going to be on penalties. So that's a difficult one. But then Evan Ferguson, breakout season for him last year, 6 goals in the Premier League. But then Brighton have signed a lot of forward players. They've got João Pedro, they've still got Danny Welbeck, Undav as well. Is he going to see out full 90s? Mitrovic is, yes. Is Ferguson? Probably not, but the 3 opening fixtures for Brighton are better than they are for Fulham. And if he can kind of kick on and start really well in those first 3, he's probably going to nail himself in that team. So I'm going to go with Ferguson. We're leaning more to Ferguson than Mitrovic. Right, back to the top of the bracket. Darwin versus Visser. Oh dear. Wow, this side of the bracket was great. The right-hand side is absolutely abysmal. What a poor set of talent on the right-hand side this is. This is tough. This is tough because both are not players that I'm personally looking to target. I get why people are going Visser, but I think if you've got Mbuemo, he takes penalties. He's just worth that extra 0.5 million. Midfielder as well, going to be getting them midfield points. But then with Darwin, you might as well go Diaz. We're going to go with Visser. We're going to go with Visser. We're going to play the fixtures. He's probably going to play a lot more games than Darwin over this opening period as well. So we're going to go with Visser for this one. Ooh, Gapo versus Ferguson. Now, I think Gapo is potentially going to start the season as the main forward, but with both these players have so much competition. Like, it's hard to determine who's going to get more minutes out of the opening 2. But I do feel like Evan Ferguson's just going to start the season so well. Finished the international break with Ireland really, really well and absolutely smashed it, didn't he? Just couldn't stop scoring. If he gets himself in the groove, Luton as well, the first game of the season, if he can bang like 1 or 2 in there, build on that, you know, some really good fixtures to start the season. I think we're going to go Evan Ferguson over Gapo for this one. Right, semi-final time. Visser versus Ferguson, the battle of the 6 million players. Oh, this is tasty because this is actually quite a big debate I've seen on Twitter. A lot of people discussing whether or not to go to Visser or Ferguson. A lot of discussion about minutes, who's going to play more, because Visser isn't necessarily nailed with Mbuemo and Sade as well up front for Brentford. Ferguson could even be on penalties this season, Evan Ferguson. Obviously, McAllister has left. There's talk of maybe Pascal Gross. Estupinian, who I'm hoping is on penalties, took one in the international break. He'd be better at penalties. But then Evan Ferguson, if he's on penalties, I think that makes him such a better option than Visser. 3 good opening fixtures as well. I guess you could move him on to maybe someone like Visser as well if it doesn't work out. We're going to go with Evan Ferguson. Right, ladies and gentlemen, this is it. This is the final we have got. We've got Gabby Jesus versus Evan Ferguson for the kind of alternative forward to Erling Haaland. Obviously, on the left-hand side, it was a very interesting bracket. Some really good players on that side. And Cuckoo, Kane, Jesus, Watkins. On the right-hand side, not so much. Lot of tat on the right-hand side. Not really a balanced bracket, but that's the way it's randomly kind of spewed them out. But this is our final, Jesus versus Ferguson. Let me know down in the comments below what would be your number 1 pick to go for. I personally think we're gonna this is tough, man. This is tough. Jesus and Arsenal do have really, really good long-term fixtures. 8 million as well is really good. Is like 90 kind of data as well is absolutely fantastic. But it does mean I can't get a Martinelli in my team, who I do also think is a fantastic player to go for, because I could go Gabriel, Saka, Martinelli, which would be really, really fit. Or I could go Gabriel, Saka, Jesus. This is tough. This is tough, ladies and gentlemen. I'm not going to lie, I'm struggling a little bit. Evan Ferguson, though, is he going to play every single game? Is he going to see out a 90? Probably not. Is Jesus? Probably that little bit more, but then they've also signed Kai Havertz as well. Florian Balogun's back from loan. They've still got Nketiah there, so maybe Jesus isn't going to see out 90s as well. Oh my days, this is actually really tough to call. I think I think, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to go for, drum roll please, we're going to go with Jesus. Jesus is going to be our winner, ladies and gentlemen. He is going to be the player. Let's get rid of that. Jesus is going to be the man that is going to win our first ever FPL head-to-head bracket as the forward that I am selecting to go with, alternatively with Erling Haaland as well. Evan Ferguson put up a really, really good fight on the right-hand side. Some great other players in there, and Cuckoo, Watkins. There are so many good forward options this year, but for me, Gabi Jesus is coming out on top in our bracket fight. Very happy to have him. I'm going to actually put him in my draft and build a draft around him, see how that looks, and I will post that on the channel as well. Let me know what you think of this concept. Absolutely brand new, seen nobody do it in the FPL space. If you like it, drop a like, drop a comment, and subscribe to the channel. Like I said, we are trying to hit 1,500 subs here on the channel. Be absolutely amazing if we could do it by the end of this month. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, ladies and gentlemen. Enjoy the rest of your day.